إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن سيدنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله أدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة ورفع الغمة وصلى الله على آله وصحبه وكل ما استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد. Last week, one of the brothers, he asked me to recap on what we spoke about last week. And this is a bit difficult because of the fact that we went for around 80 minutes. So it's very difficult to recap on 80 minutes of a lecture. Last week what we spoke about was the nature of the Jinn, the creation, the different of the ulama in relation to what is the essence. Also spoke about the different habits that they have. We spoke about their life. We spoke about their powers. We spoke about the ages. And one of the last things we spoke about is the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has divided them into two main groups. Some of them are actually believers, and therefore they are from the Muslims, and there are those who are amongst them who are not believers, who are kuffar. And we mentioned that last week. But there's an important question, and it's an interesting point as well, that I wanted to raise up, which is, do the Jinn have the disunity that the humans have? In other words, do the Jinn do they break into different sects? Do they have different groups? Do they follow different methods? It is something that is interesting for us to know. And subhanAllah, there is an answer for that. And there is an answer for that from the ulama of hadith. One of the ulama of the hadith, his name is Imam Al-A'mash. And for those who study Sharia, they know that Imam A'mash is actually one of the main people of hadith that are known to be the narrators from the narrators of hadith. He speaks about the fact that there was an occasion, and I'm not going to say what the occasion is for the maslahah of the young ones. There was an occasion where he met with a Muslim Jinn. And was some sort of a feast. And he sat with him. And he started speaking to him. And he said to him, مَا أَحَبُ الطَّعَامِ إِلَيْكُمْ? He said, what is the most favorite food to you? قَالَ الْأَرُزْ. He said, rice. So he said, bring him rice. So they brought him rice. So and they put plates of rice in front of him. And he said, فَجَعَلْتُ أَرَى الْلُقَمَ تُرْفَعْ وَلَا أَرَى مَنْ يَأْخُذْهَا. He goes, and I was see that morsels of the rice are actually being removed, but I can't see who is taking it. And then he said, أَفِيكُم مِّنَ الْأَهْوَاءِ الَّتِي فِينَا. He goes, do you have different groups like we do? And the word ahwa is referring to the fact that every person will follow the hawa that he likes in a particular group. And there's some people, for example, who the hawa is with spirituality, and then they will follow a particular group. Those who the hawa is actually with logic, then they'll follow a particular group. Those who hawa is with military and fighting, then they will follow a particular group. So I said to him, أَفِيكُم مِّنَ الْأَهْوَاءِ الَّتِي فِينَا. He said to him, قَالَ لَهُ نَعَمْ. قال نعم فينا من القدرية والمرجئة ومن المعتزلة. Some of us are Mu'tazila, some of us are from the Murji'ah, some of us are Qadari. And then to him, فَمَا الرَّافِضَةُ فِيكُمْ. He goes, the Rafida, classify him amongst your sects. قَالَ شَرُّنَا. He goes, they are the worst of them. In terms of the... And the hadith, or the narration is not a hadith, it's a khabar. Is actually Imam Abu al-Hajjaj al-Mujni said, وَهَذَا إِسْنَادٌ صَحِيحٌ. He goes, and the narration of this story is actually, the chain of the narration is actually sahih, it's actually authentic. And this was, and Imam al-A'mash rahimahullah is not someone that can make up stories because he's one of the known figures in the science of hadith. And the story also has been mentioned in Sirah A'lam al-Nubala by Imam al-Dhahabi. And I have an interesting experience here. There was a brother that was trading with the aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala last year. And throughout the treatment, the jinn that was in him decided to become Muslim. So when he became Muslim, we usually have conversations. We'll sit down, we'll talk about things, and I ask him a lot of questions. One of the questions that I asked him was, what is your favorite food? And he was very hesitant at the beginning to answer. And I said, listen, you've become Muslim, inshallah. I'll not read on you after today, as long as you leave. But you have to help me as well. And you have to do this. He said, yes. And I said, what is the most favorite food for you? What is the food that used to make him eat a lot? The interesting thing is that brother is actually a uni graduate. He's a uni graduate. And he's someone who went to treating. He did not really believe wholeheartedly in the issue of and possession and magic. He believed in it because his religion as a Muslim said to him, there are creatures out there called Jinn, there is something called magic. But deep inside, he was very skeptical about it. He was suspicious about it. So he has no idea about the whole topic. He has no idea about the whole topic. He's never read any lectures about it. He never attended anything. He never read any literature in relation to it. So he said to me, and I said to him, how do you like it? And he said, I like it spicy. He said, I like it spicy. And he comes from Iraq. After that, I knew about the story, but the brother did not know about this narration. He went and he started reading himself because he became interested. He started reading and he came across this story. And that incident of Imam al-Amash, may Allah have mercy upon him, made this thing. And then he came back to me and he said, do you know that there's some narrations that speak about this? I said, yeah. He goes, and he was very amazed. Why? Because what happened there, that he had a personal encounter with a jinn. And the jinn spoke to him about a specific type of food, which is rice. And then the incident that he had as his personal encounter was verified by what? By the narration of Imam rahimahullah. So therefore, to this story we have two sanadan. We have two isnad. One isnad is from the book of Hadith. And the other isnad is from the personal experience of this particular brother. And he was amazed. He said, subhanallah, what this jinn has said, agrees with what Al-Amash has said. And this is someone that only got into the issue of jinn and magic and possession a year ago when he started seeking treatment for a problem that he had. Of course, this does not mean that all jinn eat rice. This is actually referring to a particular type of them. Of course, and the other issue that relates to the issue of the jinn, and that's something that I mentioned from last week, is that the Muslim jinn, they do tend to help the Muslim brothers from the humans, and they do help them whether they are males and whether they are females. And a lot of people, when they speak about this issue, they say, how come we haven't heard anything about it we haven't heard anything about it from the life of the companions or from the life of the tabi'een. And the fact is that there are a lot of literature that speak about this, but people don't read. And people are not interested. But once you start researching and once you start reading, you come across a lot of encounters that even the companions had with jinn, with Muslim jinn and with non-Muslim jinn. One of the famous ones is the one that we mentioned last week in relation to Abu Hurairah, but there are many that has taken place as well. One of them is that the slave of Abdurrahman ibn Bushr, he says, we went out for Hajj during the time of the Khilafah of Uthman radiallahu anhu. فَأَصَابَنَا الْعَطَشِ. He goes, so we became thirsty. فَانْتَهَيْنَا إِلَى مَاءٍ مَلِحٍ. So we got to a lake where there is salty water. We crossed through a place where there is salty water. And then they were talking to each other and they said, one of them said to the other, I think once we cross this, the fresh water should be after that. So they walked and walked and walked, but they never got to fresh water and they became very thirsty. So one of them said, let's go back to the salty water that we had, the salty area, the salty lake that was there, because that's the only best resort, that's the best resort that we have now, because we've walked for a long period, and we crossed a long distance, and until now we haven't found anything. So they went back to the salty water. When they got there was a tree next to it, and it was around the time of Maghrib. فَأَدْلَجْنَا, around the time of Maghrib. He said, فَخَرَجَ عَلَيْنَا رَجُلٌ أَسْوَدٌ شَدِيدُ السَّوَادِ أو شَدِيدُ سَوَادِ الْجِسْمِ. Because a man came towards us. He was a tall man, but he was very dark. He was very, very dark. And he said, يا معشر الركب إني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليحب للمسلمين ما يحب لنفسه وليكره للمسلمين ما يكره لنفسه. He goes, I heard the Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم say, the man is speaking to them. I heard the Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم say that those who's from the Muslims and the one who believes in Allah and their judgment, then he should love for his Muslim brothers what he loves for himself. And he should hate for his Muslim brothers what he hates for himself. He goes, فَسِيرُوا حَتَّى تَنْتَهُوا إِلَى الْأَكَمَةِ. He says, so he indicated to them, he goes, walk in that direction and you're going to find a hill or sand dune. He goes, once you reach it, turn to the left and you're going to find fresh water there. They differed between each other, amongst each other. One of them said, this one is a, what? Shaitan. This one is a shaitan. We should not listen to him. We might fall into a trap. The other one said to him, no, his words are not the words of a shaitan. So let's do it. We have nothing to lose. And they followed his instructions and they found the fresh water there. And they drank from it. And this story actually has been narrated from more than one narration. Some of the narrations are found in the books of Bukhari and Muslim, and the narration in the book of Imam Ahmad, his Musnad, and also by Ibn Majah and An-Nasa'i. And they say, and there's some narration from Abu Hurairah where he speaks about the story, and they say that it is authentic. Now the issue is, we learn from this more than one lesson. First, that not every creature from the jinn that is dark is associated with the shaitan. And this is a misconception that a lot of Muslims have. We know from last week when we spoke about how Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said when the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam came and they went around him, when I saw them, he said, I saw them tall and what? And dark. But what were they? They were Muslims. And the one who is dark and he becomes Muslim, does his color change? His color doesn't change. So therefore, this perception of white and black in relation to colors is something that is not from Islam. It's not something that is from Islam. And this is the second narration that verifies that. And the fact that sometimes a jinn can take the form of a snake or not does not make it good or bad, because some of them, as the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, some of them actually they live in snakes. So they can be Muslim and they can be non-Muslims. But the association of the jinn in general with the black color is in relation to the fact that they are themselves hidden creatures, and the color black is a color of sitr. It's a color of concealment. And that's why it relates to them and they feel comfortable with it. And this is one of the narrations that verify that. We also learn from this that the jinn have sat around the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, have learned from him. And we also learn from that the fact that there are jinn who narrate and who learn the hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And therefore, when we come to speak about jinn, we should always distinguish between those who are Muslims and those who are not Muslims, because it is not fair for us to attack them if they are not from those who are attacking us. Yani, in other words, if they're not shayateen and if they're not transgressing, then you have no right to swear to them, you have no right to abuse them, and you have no right to attack them in foul-mouthed language and so forth. Another interesting narration is an incident that happened with Aisha radiallahu anha. And there's more than one narration for that. One of the narrations says that Aisha radiallahu anha, she had a jinn that used to come to her house. And therefore she commanded and he got killed. I'm going to talk about how he got killed later on. And then it came to her in her dream. She slept and she saw a dream where it was said to her, قَتَلْتِ Abdullah al-Muslim. Because you have killed one of the slaves of Allah who is a Muslim. And because of that, what she did, she spent 12,000 dinar as kafara, as an expiation for what she did. And the same story is also mentioned in the Musannaf Abu Shayba, may Allah have mercy upon him. The other one that is found in Muslim says that Aisha radiallahu anha walked into her house and she found a snake. And therefore she asked for the snake to be killed. And then at night, she saw a dream at night, and it was said to her that you have killed someone that used to from the ones that used to listen to the wahy of the Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم. قتلت نفرا ممن كانوا يستمعون إلى وحي الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. And she said, as a result, what she did, she actually sent to Yemen, and she got, I think, around 40 sheep, and she gave them for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as an expiation for what she did. Some, they say, in the first narration, when she saw that in the dream, she said to them, she said, how could he be a Muslim and he comes into my house? If he was a Muslim, they would not have entered my house. They said to her, he would never, ما كان يدخل عليك إلا إذا جمعت عليك ثيابك. He said to her, he never entered your house unless you were properly clothed, properly dressed. And they said to her, he used to come to your house so he can listen to your recitation of the Qur'an. The other narration, and there are many narrations, but I'm just picking and choosing a couple of narrations, is also in Sahih Muslim, where Abu Sa'id speaks about the story of one man, or one young man that used to live amongst the companions. And he was someone that was recently married. He went out with the Rasul to the battle of the Khandaq, and then he wanted to go back to his people. So when he went back to his people, he was advised that he should keep his weapon on him, his sword and so forth, because the battle or the struggle between the Rasul and the people of Khaybar was still on, and the Rasul feared for his life from them. So it says that he got to his house, and as soon as he got to the door, he saw his wife outside the house dressed in an immodest way. فأخذته غيرة. And he became jealous, and he pulled his sword. He wanted to kill her. And I said to him, على رسلك. He goes, be patient. Know first why I walked out like this. Go in and see what made me walk out like this. So they say he went in, and then he saw on the bed a massive snake. So he pulled out his sword and he killed that snake. But they say that we don't know who died first, because as soon as he killed the snake, he fell on the ground, and white fluid white froth began to start to come out from his mouth, and he died instantly. When the issue went back to the Rasul ﷺ, he said, there are flying jinn and there are jinn that live with you in your houses. And they are Muslims. So whenever you see one of them, then give him a warning for 3 days. If you still find them in the house, then kill him after that. The ulama said is what happened is that this man killed the snake, and the snake didn't bite him. And he killed the snake and he killed it. And then he went back, and then suddenly he dropped on the ground. So what happened to him is not related to him being bitten by the snake. No, didn't come next to him. He killed it, and then as soon as he lifted his sword, he fell on the ground and he died himself. And the Rasul said, give him a warning for 3 days. If they don't leave your houses, then what do you do? Then kill them. And from this, the ulama, they say, and one of them is Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy upon him, he said that killing the jinn with no right is not something that is allowed in Islam. Based on these narrations, this shows that killing a jinn with no reason is not something that is permissible in the Sharia. And therefore, the one who kills a jinn, then he is someone that has done oppression. He has actually oppressed it. And oppression is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited. And therefore, not allowed to kill it unless what? Unless you want it. That's one. And you're not allowed to kill it unless you have a right with it. And that's a mistake that some of the reciters fall into. Some of the reciters, those who treat with the Qur'an, they go into the case from the first moment they start using verses of burning or the verses of killing. They don't try to speak. I'm not telling them they have to speak. They don't try to warn. They don't try to give da'wah. They don't try to advise. They just go in and kill. And it's very bad, because what will happen is that you'll have a lot of jinn after you. You'll have a lot of jinn after you. And within the world, they will have every right to kill you. And Islamically, because unless you give that warning, then what are you doing? You are parading your power. You are parading your strength. And this is not something that is allowed in Islam. This is not something that is allowed in Islam. So what you do first, in general, but especially reciters, is that you warn them. You know, for you speak to them, the girls, I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you. Okay? that you have to leave out of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and out of obedience to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Leave and leave this body, otherwise you're going to be burned by the verses that I am going to read. And you give that warning more than once. You give him that chance and you say, and you do stuff, I'm not going to get into this. Inshallah ta'ala, if whoever wants to learn ruqya, that becomes a totally different issue, but that's something for people who want to specialize in this particular area. So therefore, that should be the approach that should be taken in relation to dealing with jinn. The main topic that I want to speak about today, and that's something that I wanted to summarize from last week, is the issue of hasad, envy, and evil eye. And it is something that is equally important as possession. We're going to inshallah speak about possession next week. And inshallah we'll try our best not to take as long as we did last week. Last week we went for over an hour, so we'll try to cut down on it today. First of all, what is the meaning of hasad? They say, al-hasad huwa tamanni zawalu ni'mati al-mahsudi وَإِن لَمْ يَحْصَلْ لِلْحَاسِدِ مِثْلُهَا. Wish for the one that you are envying to lose the bounty that he has, whether you gain it or not. So this is what hasad is defined linguistically. When I see someone that has something that is good, and I would wish for that thing that he has to be from him. And sometimes they use the ayn to refer to hasad. So they'll say, أَصَابَتْهُ عَيْن, but what they are referring to is actually hasad. Why? Because as they say, الْعَيْن مِرْآةُ الرُّوحِ. The ayn is actually the mirror of the soul. Next, what the soul wants. And therefore, what can happen is that he will look at what this person has, and he will hate so much for him to has this ni'mah, whether it is strength, whether it is health, whether it is wealth, whether it is beauty, whether it is children, whether it is car, whatever it is, whether it is a nice voice, I'm going to speak about a story in relation to a nice voice, whether it is power, and then he will wish for that to be lost and for that person to be deprived from it. And that's why the sha'r, there's a nice sha'r that has been said about that, where it says, أَلَا قُلِّ كَانَ حَاسِدًا أَتَدْرِي عَلَى مَنْ أَسَأْتَ الْأَدَبِ. You can say to everyone that, do you know with whom you are being ill-mannered? أَسَأْتَ عَلَى اللَّهِ فِي فِعْلِهِ. Because you have been ill-mannered with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in relation to His action. Because whatever ni'mah you have is from the qadr of who? Qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لأنك لم ترض لي ما وهب. Because you did not accept from me what He has accepted from me and what He has gifted to me. And hasad is actually one of the evil sins that someone can fall and one of the bad sins. That's why the ulama, they say that hasad is actually also the first sins that was committed in the heavens, because Iblis hasad Adam. Iblis envied what Adam has. Mud, everyone has to prostrate to you. Why? I'm made of fire, my element is better than your element. And therefore hasad is something that is evil. Does hasad exist? Does envy exist? Well, as far as we are concerned as Muslims, are proof for that in the Qur'an, in the Sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For example, in Surah Al-Qalam, وَإِنْ يَكَادُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ وَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّكَ لَمَجْنُونَ وَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّهُ لَمَجْنُونَ. He goes, وَيَكَادُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ. The ulama of tafsir, they say, one of them, Ibn Kathir, he says, and that's narration for Ibn Abbas and Mujahid, that the kuffar would look at the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the eyes of envy and hatred towards him. لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ. Every time they see the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reading the Qur'an, they become so angry and so hating to him and so envious of him that they would look and they would try to harm the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with the sight. لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ. Whenever they will hear him reading the Qur'an, وَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّهُ لَمَجْنُونَ. And they will make up promise by the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, saying that he is what? That he is crazy. Ibn Kathir says, and he goes, وَفِي هَذَا دَلِيلٌ عَلَى أَنَّ الْعَيْنَ موجودة ولها إصابة ولها تأثير. And this proves that the eye is something that does exist, and Islam verifies that, and it does have an impact on people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken about hasad in more than one place, and there are other hadith that speak about it. I'll mention them soon inshallah ta'ala. One of them, what the Kathir min Surah ود كثير من الكتاب لو يردونكم من بعد إيمانكم كفارا حسدا من عند أنفسهم من بعد ما تبين لهم الحق. Many, Allah said in the Qur'an, many of the people of the scripture would wish to see you go back to a state of disbelief after you have known the sweetness of faith. حسدا من عند أنفسهم من بعد ما تبين لهم الحق. Out of envy that is inside them, after they have known that the message of the Rasul ﷺ is the truth. And that's something that they used to have. Another verse in Surah Nisa, أَمْ يَحْسُدُونَ النَّاسَ عَلَى مَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Or do they envy people for what Allah has bestowed upon them from His favor? Because the people of the scripture had a problem with the Rasul ﷺ because he was not from the race. So they envied him for that. And the kuffar of Quraysh had a problem with the Rasul ﷺ and envied him because the message was not revealed to someone from them. So they also had that type of hasad against the Rasul ﷺ. And of course, one of the famous ayat, وَمِن شَرِّ حَسَدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ, and protect us from the evil of someone that does envy us. From the sunnah, there are a lot of ahadith that speak about hasad. One of them, عن جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تدخل الرجل القبر وتدخل الجمل القدرة. That the eye can cause a man to die and can cause a camel to end up in a pot. What does that mean? Yeah, it's funny. That means the eye can affect humans and can affect animals and also can affect objects. That's why some of the people that say, oh, akhi, it's psychological. Akhi, I say, yeah, it is psychological with the humans. But could it be psychological with animals? Could it be psychological with cars? Could it be psychological with objects? It can't. So don't try to deny something that does exist. And the hadith of the Rasul ﷺ indicates the gravity of what the ayn can cause. Because the Rasul ﷺ is saying that it can be a cause of the death of a person. And also the hadith indicates that someone that has such envy inside him, and we're going to talk about the different types of it, will actually can cause someone to lose some of his wealth. And one of them is what? The camel. How can it cause a camel to end up in a pot? Come on, try. No, it gets killed. You can't eat it Islamically. It gets sick. Can get gravely sick. Whenever a horse gets sick or whenever a cow gets sick, what do? They'll kill it. They don't want to lose it. It's an asset. They'll kill it and benefit from its meat, and that's the meaning of the Rasul. And that's why the Rasul says in another hadith narrated by Abu Dharr, he says, إِنَّ الْعَيْنَ لَتُولَعُ بِالرَّجُلِ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى يَصْعَدُ حَالِقًا فَيَتَرَدَّ مِنْهِ. He goes, the eye can follow someone by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that even if he goes up to a mountain, he will fall off a mountain and die. Meaning what? Meaning he cannot run away from it. Another hadith which is found in Muslim Imam Ahmad, and also is very important for us to learn, is that أكثر من يموت من أمتي بعد قضاء الله وقدره بالعين. The Rasul said, many of the people that will die from my ummah after the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be from the ayn, from the evil eye. Manawi, he says, because of the ummah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam have been favored over others by the yaqeen, by the iman, and they have been deprived from desires, what can happen is that the eye of one to the other can cause such gravity on that particular person. And there's something that used to happen to the companions. And one narration of that is that Asma bint she was speaking to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the Rasul was speaking to her. And he was speaking about the children of Ja'far radiallahu anhu arda. He says, Mali ara ashama bani akhi dari'a. He goes, why do I see the bodies of the children of my brother, because he was his cousin, dari'a, weak? Why are they weak? Why do they look skinny and weak? أَتُصِيبُهُمُ الْحَاجَةِ. He goes, is it because of poverty? There's no food for them, you're not feeding them properly, you have no money to feed them? قالت لا يا رسول الله وإنما تصيبهم العين. He goes, no Rasulullah, but they get affected by their eye. And then he said to her, قال إرقيهم. وفي another رواية قال استرقي لهم. He said to her, do ruqya on them. Another narration he says, get someone to do ruqya on them. The narration continues, and she said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you said that the ruqya is shirk. He said to her, no, I meant the ruqya that contains shirk is what? Is shirk. Show me your ruqya, and ruqya is a word for prayer. Show me the prayers, read them upon me. For any prayer that is not shirk, then it's permissible for you to use and for you to read. Aisha radiallahu anha says that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told her to actually seek ruqya from the ayn. Seek ruqya from the ayn because she used to suffer from it as well. Which means it's something that used to exist on the days of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and something that Muslims have suffered from. And what would Aisha suffer from ayn? Come on. For those who are asleep, wake up. Because the wife of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he had other wives. Because she was the most beloved to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she was the only young one that he got married to, and he was very in touch. He was very close to her, so the ayn can piece right directly to her. What are the causes of hasad? What are the causes of envy? One of them is hatred and animosity. And that's something that is unfortunate, but that's something that exists amongst humans. Muslims or non-Muslims, believers or not, this does exist. And this shows that the heart that envies in such a way is a heart that is not clean. That's one. Second, it can be arrogance. It can be arrogance, where people will look at others and they will wish for others to be lower than them. And that will cause their nafs and their ruh to have so much negative energy that will cause a strike on these people. Third, the love of leadership and the love of parading what you have. So when you see others have something that is better than you, what happens to you? Become angry. And unfortunately that happens amongst everyone. This can happen amongst normal people. This can happen amongst wealthy people. This can happen amongst men. This can happen amongst women. This can happen amongst mashayikh and scholars. We will feel envious of someone new that comes up. You become well known. Someone else comes up. He starts attracting the attention. The nafs of the people can get stirred. And that's why it can actually cause them sometimes to take stances and to make statements which are not correct and which are not true. And may Allah save us from this. And the worst of it, huwa khubthun nafs. When someone is just evil and he loves envying people for the sake of harming. It's not because he hates you, this is personal. It's not because he's jealous of you, where there is some competition between you and him. It's not because he wants to show off, but because he loves to harm. And they say that this is one of the worst types of envy that can strike someone, or that can cause an injury to someone. And also another type is al-khawf min al-maqasid, where you can actually fear that someone can beat you. And based on that, as far as this is concerned, we can divide the hasad into three different types. One, for you to wish for the person to lose the bounty that he has, so it can happen to you. Mathalan, someone, and I'll use the brothers and then I'll use sisters. Someone marries a beautiful woman. You'll look at her and you'll have envy towards him. Why did he marry her? I should be the one who gets married to her. This can be one cause of hasad, or can be the other way around. Or for example, for those who work in cars, okay, and they buy from the auctions. Someone bought a car and you had hasad that you wanted to get that car for yourself. It went for a good price. The damage is not that big, and so forth. Or it can be from the woman's side, for example, a lady that is more beautiful than her, or a lady that was fortunate, for example, to get married to someone that is good. We're assuming religious, but most likely wealthy and good looking and well built. Okay, and she would wish for that person to be hers. That can be one. But this type of envy is an envy where you don't hate that person, but you want that ni'mah that he has to come to you and to be yours. The second one is for you to wish for that ni'mah أن تزول عن الشخص ولو لم تحصل لك. For you to wish for that bounty for that person to lose it, even if you don't get it yourself. And the ulama, they say, and this is the most prohibited one, and this is the worst one. Where you just want that person to lose it, not because you want it, just because you want to harm him. And they say, and this, we're going to have questions later, inshallah. And they say, and this is وَهَذِهِ أَخْبَثُهَا. And this is the filthiest of it. Because what does that show? What does that show? That shows that your nafs is not clean. That shows that your heart is not clean. And the third type of hasad, they say, where you wish for you to have like what the person has. Yani, for example, someone got a good car. Say, I wish I can have a car like him. The ulama said that this type of hasad is allowed because this is something that relates to competition. And really it's called ghibta. And this is something that is permissible because you're not really hating that person. You just want you want the khair to come to you as it comes to him. But what people don't know is that the hasad or the ayn can be divided into another two types. One type, ayn, that can be casted on someone from a human. And the other type is the ayn that can be casted on a human from a jinn. Ayn that can be casted on a human from a jinn. And will have a similar effect to the ayn of the human. In fact, will actually be stronger. That's why Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, he says in the hadith, سَتْرُ مَا بَيْنَ أَعْيُنِ الْجِنِّ وَعَوْرَاتِ بَنِي آدَمْ إِذَا دَخَلَ أَحَدُكُمُ الْخَلَاءَ أَنْ يَقُولَ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ. Because what will conceal between the gaze of the jinn and your private parts when you enter the bathroom is for you to say Bismillah, which shows that they have eyes and they look and they desire. May Allah bless you. And they desire. They desire men and they desire women. And I'm going to speak about that next week, inshallah. I'm speaking about position. Because there are types of position which is based on love and desire. For the brothers that go out there showing the muscles. And for the sisters that go out there and show their beauty. Yes, sometimes they desire the person, they will follow him. Anyway, we'll leave that to tomorrow. And it's been narrated from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri that the Rasul ﷺ كَانَ يَتَعَوَّذُ مِنْ عَيْنِ الْجَانِّ وَمِنْ عَيْنِ الْإِنسِ. That he used to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evil eye of a jinn and from the evil eye of a human. And then he says, and when the mu'awwidhatayn were revealed, he stopped making the dua and he began to use what? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِالْفَلَقِ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, which proves that does exist. And that's why Salama radiallahu anha, she narrates a hadith from the Rasul sallallahu where he entered her house and he saw a young female, Jariya. في وجهها سفعة. In her face there is a saf'a. What is a saf'a? Saf'a, the ulama, they differ in relation to how to describe it. But if someone is, for example, dark, it will be like a pink patch on the face. It's actually a patch or a mark that will be on the face. When the Rasul saw it, he said, استرقوا لها فإن بها النظرة. He said, do ruqya for her because she's suffering from a nadra. The ulama said, النظرة, what is meant by it here, عين الجن, is another word that the Arabs use to refer to an evil eye that has been casted on someone from what? From jinn. And this hadith prove that there's an eye from the jinn. And sometimes, subhanAllah, from the tricks that they do with the cases of possession and cases of magic that we have, is that you can read the verses of magic on the person, or you can read the verses of the evil eye on the person when you are diagnosing, and he'll react. And you will think that he has what? An eye. And then the reciter will continue to use the ayat that refer to hasad or refer to ayn. But what would have happened is that the jinn will do a trick where you'll keep on doing so you can follow with the symptom of what? Of ayn. But he can have possession, or he can have a particular type of magic. And that's something that they do so they can trick reciters. And that's why some amateur reciters can fall into that. And we'll say to the person, you're not possessed. Just have an evil eye. And he's wrong. Because that can be an eye from him. And they can use it for other means as well. طيب, we hear a statement, especially amongst the Arabs, they say, al-ayn haq. So the Rasul ﷺ said, the ayn is haq. Is it true? Yes, this is a hadith. This has come in the hadith where Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he says, قال Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّ الْعَيْنَ حَقٌّ وَنَهَى عَنِ الْوَشْمِ. The Rasul said that the eye is something that does exist and he prohibited tattooing. Ibn Hajar said, why did the Rasul speak about tattoos with ayn? And he said, I've noticed or I learned after looking at that is that the Arabs used to use tattoos so they can make someone look less ugly. So will not have a eye. So the Rasul told them the eye is something that exists, but do not use what? Do not use the tattoos. طيب, what do you do with someone that has an ayn? The ulama said that one of the ways that can be used to protect someone or to actually to break the eye on someone is for the one that envied him to take a particular type of bath and then for the water to be poured on that particular person, and this should break it. And this happened during the time of the Rasul ﷺ, where Abu Ibn Salih ibn Hunayf, he narrates, he goes, there was a companion called Amr ibn Rabi'ah. Amr ibn Rabi'ah went past and Sahl ibn Hunayf was taking a bath. Now the Arabs, until now, they love white-skinned people. And it's not very common for you to have a white skin amongst the Arabs. Something that they like. Amr ibn Rabi'ah was a white man. He had a beautiful skin. Sahl ibn Hunayf, was a white man. He has a beautiful skin. Amr ibn Rabi'ah is going past. He saw him what? Taking a bath. He looked at him. He said, Wallahi ma ra'aytuka al-yawm wala jilda mukhabba'a. He goes, I have not seen until today a skin as beautiful as your skin. And it's even nicer than the skin of a mukhabba'a. What's a mukhabba'a? Mukhabba'a is a word that they use, that the Arabs used to refer to a virgin girl that has not been exposed a lot to the sun. So like she's well treasured, she's well protected. Okay, so nothing has touched her skin. So how would her skin be? Would it be rough and tough? Scratched, cracked? Will be fine. So I said to him, I have not seen a skin as nice as his skin, not even the skin of women. They said, as soon as he said that, فَلَبَطَ سَهْل. Sahel fell on the ground. Time's up. Sahel fell on the ground in an epileptic situation. They went to the Rasul ﷺ. They rushed to the Rasul. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هل لك في سهل بن حنيف? He goes, come see what happened to Sahl ibn Hunayf. He said, what's wrong with him? They said he was bathing and suddenly he was taking a shower and he fell on the ground. The Rasul said, do you accuse or do you think anyone harmed him? They said, yes, Amr ibn Rabi'ah. Because what did he say? They said, he said such and such. He said, bring him. So he came to Rasul alayhi. They say the Rasul was harsh on him. Amr ibn Rabi'ah came to the Rasul قال, the Rasul was very angry with him. He said to him, عَلَى مَا يَقْتُلُ أَحَدُكُمْ أَخَاهُ. He goes, why would you like to kill your brother? أَلَا بَرَّكْتَ. Why didn't you say تبارك ما شاء الله اغتسل له. Wash for him. And they say that they brought water for Amr ibn Rabi'ah, and he washed his, he actually, I'm going to mention exactly how it happened, washed his face, his hands, his elbows, his knees, the end of his feet, وَدَخِلَةَ إِزَارِهِ. Now the izar, for those who do not know, is like what Yusuf is wearing. It's something that you wrap around your waist. Okay? Do you have an izar here? It's something like a skirt that you wrap around your waist that the Arabs used to use. The ulama said, دَخِلَةَ إِزَارِهِ, they differed. What is meant by that? Some they said that it's actually the right part of his waist. And some they said it's actually his private part. But in relation, is actually, basically he got some water and he poured it under his izar. Then this water was taken, and it was taken to where Sahl ibn Hunayf, the poor man, was, and was poured over him. And they said as soon as it was poured over him, he got up in full health, as if nothing happened to him. And he got up. Now, how does the washing take place? Of course, now the people are too embarrassed to do that. And that's something that should be done by the Muslims today. They say, oh, you're accusing me of me giving you an eye? How could you? But the Rasul ﷺ clearly said to them, who do you think might have harmed him? And the companions casually said, Amr ibn Rabi'ah. And therefore there's nothing haram in that. Now, how did the washing take place? Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, may Allah have mercy upon him, he says, he goes, and therefore they brought like a container in front of him, and then he took water in his palm, and then he rinsed his mouth, and then he put it in the what? In the same bowl, in the same container. Did not throw it. Do you understand? The concept is to collect water from the person that made, and from the one that made the hazard. So he took from the water and then he rinsed and then he left it in majjahu fil qadah. He actually poured it back into the container. Then he took of it and he washed his face within the actual container. Then he took with his left and he washed his right arm until the elbow in the actual container. Then with the right to the left in the actual container. Then he actually went to his feet. He washed the right and then he washed the left. And then he washed the right knee, and then he washed the left knee, and then he got some water, and he poured it within his izar, and all this water was collected, and what usually happens is that they stand behind the person, and they pour it upon him all at once. And this usually breaks the actual ayn. Some people might find this weird. Well, it works. And it has worked for years. And it continues to work because the Rasul ﷺ said so. And a lot of issues, and that's the problem of a lot of Muslims in the era of science and technology, they think that the knowledge of the human can surpass the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'll tell you what, it will never happen that way. So you can try all you want, but it will never happen. And when the Rasul ﷺ spoke, he did not speak from his own hawa, from his own opinion. He spoke from what Allah has revealed to him, and until now this method is used and it works. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And that's why Ibn al-Qayyim Allah said some people found it a bit strange. He said, but this is something for where Allah challenges the brain, and if you don't believe it, try it, and you'll see that will actually take place. What do we do with someone that casts an evil eye on someone? Imam Qadi Ayad said, whoever, now that's the issue. He said, whoever is known for envying people and causing them evil eyes, then people should protect themselves from him or her and should not mix with someone like him or her. And if it can be proven consistently, then this man is a man that should not be allowed to mix a lot with people. And he said, and he went, and that's his comment in Sahih Muslim, and he said, and even if he's poor, the Khalifa should pay him an allowance and keep him at home. Why? Because we laugh about it, but it's serious. I know a lady who envied a particular family more than 5-6 times. Once for an oven, caught on fire. Once for a carpet, got completely burnt. Once a van was unrepairable. I can't remember the fourth one. Consistently. But the people were too embarrassed to say to her, they'll come back again. And that caused that. But people should not be too embarrassed. If it is consistent, then that measure should be taken. That's why Imam Nawawi, may Allah have mercy upon him, said, وَالَّذِي قَالَهُ صَحِيحٌ مُتَعَيِّن. Because what he said is true and it should be applied. That's why Imam al-Qurtubi says, if someone envied someone with an eye, the ulama have differed and killed him. The ulama have differed. Should he be killed for him? Because some people die from it. He said, should he be killed for him? He said, the ulama have two opinions. Some people said no, and some people said, yes, he should be killed for him. And they said in relation to expiation, if he caused the evil eye, for example, on a car, or on a camel, or on a house, or on whatever, and he caused an injury and a damage, they said some of the ulama, amongst them the Malikiyah, they said he should pay for it. If it can be proven, he should pay for it. And some of them went as far as actually retribution. That's amongst the Malikis as well. That actually, if he lost an eye, then he should lose an eye. If he lost a limb, then he should lose a limb, if they can prove that what he said. And that's how grave it is. What is the difference between hasad and ayn? And I have to rush a bit, because we're running out of time. The difference, one of the main key differences, is that hasad is something that happens intentionally. But ayn does not have to be necessarily intentional. Like Amr ibn Rabi'a and Sahl ibn Hunayf. Amr did not mean to harm Sahl. It's just that he walked past, he saw beautiful skin, and he made the comment and the man dropped. But hasad is actually when the person intends for that to take place. How do we protect ourselves from it? And that's one of the main important points. First, with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the good things that it can be used is the recitation of al-mu'adhatayn. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِالْفَلَقِ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِالنَّاسِ. By the hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Rasul used to seek refuge from the Ayn of the Jinn and the Ayn of the Ins. Once these two were revealed to him, then the Rasul will start what? Will start reading them for protection from the Ayn. So before you leave the house, you read on yourself, you read on your family. Okay, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِالْفَلَقِ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِالنَّاسِ. Also, another thing that is important that I want to mention is that sometimes those who love can cause their beloved to actually be injured with the ayn. So sometimes the parents can actually cause ayn on their children. And that's because of the fact that they like him too much. That's one of the things that is encouraged, for example, is for you to always mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You look at your child, you look at anything, you see it's beautiful, say Ma sha Allah. Ma sha Allah, la quwwata illa billah. Tabarak Allah. All these supplications are supplications that will break the harm that can be caused on the particular person. Another thing that can help is for you to continue or to maintain your adhkar in the morning and at night. Of course, we can't go through all of them, but every lecture I'm going to mention some of them. One of them is for you to say La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Say at least 10 times. After Fajr, if you get up for Fajr, or in the morning, whenever you get up, and at Maghrib. And if you can read it 100 times, then I promise you that nothing will be able to hurt you. If you are already free from any harm. Okay? If you can say that 100 times. Another thing is to say, بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. By the name of Allah, with whose name nothing can harm, whether it is in the heavens or it is in the earth. And He's the all-hearing, the all-knowing about things. You say that three times. Of course, without any mention, Ayat Kursi is something that should be read in the morning, should be read at night, should be read before you sleep, should be read after every single unit of salah that you make. That can help is for you to hide what can cause someone to cause an eye or an envy on someone. For example, once they brought to Uthman radiallahu anh a beautiful child, beautiful baby boy. أتوه بصبي مليح, beautiful. He said, دسموا نونته كي لا تصيبه العين. He goes, دسموا نونته. What's a nuna? The nuna actually here is referring to a, do you know how, it's similar to a dimple, but it can be here on the chin. Apparently the Arabs used to love it, like people now love dimples. So what did he say? He said, cover it with something. So when people will see him, they won't see the actual, the hole that is there. And that can be a cause of protection. And Muslims should do that. And Muslims don't do that. For example, if you have a baby that is nice, what is the color that suits him the most? For example, orange. Don't get him dressed in orange. Use other colors which are nice. If you have a baby that is chubby, for example, don't get him dressed in a way where his meat can show. Because this will cause people to what? To look. And then he can be harmed by the actual eye. If you are someone that Allah has given you some beauty, for example, you don't have to show it to people. And in fact, everyone that shows off, he's making himself very much open to people envying him. Someone's got a beautiful car. He washes it every day. And he wipes it and he makes it sparkling every single day. You're asking for it. For example, a sister that is beautiful, she makes sure that she puts the kuhul or the mascara on her, the difference, and her eyes look very bold. You're asking for it. If there is something that can cause people to do that, then try, I'm not saying hide it, but do not make it bold where others can actually see it. Can anyone cause an eye or hasad? An eye possible, because eye is something that is accidental. But hasad, no. Hasad is only a particular type of people that can cause that. That's why there's a narration that says that the kuffar in Mecca, they tried to hire, Ibn al-Kalbi says that they tried to hire someone, a man that was known for his hasad. And they used him to actually, Ibn Atiyah mentions that, to actually cause an eye on the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's one of the tafsir of وَيَكَدْ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَيَزْلُقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ. But it didn't work. And they used to hire people. And I know people, they pay them. And there are people I know of people in Yemen, I know of people in Lebanon, which are known for that. Okay? So always, when you see something that is beautiful, don't keep on looking at it, break your gaze. Second, say Tabarakallah, MashaAllah, La Quwwata Illa Billah. And if they don't say it, make them say it. What a beautiful boy. Yes, say MashaAllah. Yes, do it. Because you don't know. I know of a kid that died because of ayn. Wallah, I know of a baby that died because of ayn. And the ayn is not something that's limited to Muslims. This is something that is found in all cultures. And people use different methods for it. Second, the ma'udatayn. Third, the azkar of sabah and masa. Third, ayat al-kursi. And second, and last, for you to conceal the cause of beauty. Now, I got some beautiful pictures for you that I want to share with you. Okay? And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that later. Some people, they use particular things to protect themselves from evil eye. And if you go across different cultures, you'll come across that. For example, amongst the Jews, I'm going to get to the Turks. I'm going to talk about the libs as well, don't worry. Okay? Amongst the Jews, for example, and those who practice Kabbalah, you find the red string. They get a red string, like a thread, made of wool, and they tie around the hand. And they say that that's something that protects them from evil energy. And of course, that's something that is haram. Something else that people use, and of course, I'm going to talk about the things which people use and which are haram for them to do. They actually make dots. For example, in Bangladesh, some people, they put a black dot on one of the sides of the forehead for the baby boy. There are a lot of people do that. Okay, and for the girls, what they do, they put black dots on the earlobes, and the right on the left. And sometimes they make it with kuhl, so it looks like an earring. Because there's a belief that if you do so, then the eye will come and will go back. Another thing which is dangerous is that people use particular prayers which have not been taken from the Qur'an or the Sunnah or from the heritage of the Salaf, from the dua of the ulama or the scholars. And they repeat words which they don't understand the words, and some Muslims do so. And that's something that happens in Iran, from what I heard. And that can break the eye, but that's haram because that is shirk. And we're gonna get back to that. Another thing that gets used is that. Okay. Now I was gonna say that's a picture of me. Look, this. In Turkey they call it nazar. Okay. In Lebanon they call it tahwita. They have different names of it. They say that this is something that they hang on the person. So they put it here, or they put it on the head, they put it on the car, they put it on the clothes. And some of them they put it on airplanes. Wallah, there's a photo of this on an airplane, but I didn't bring it. Okay? And they say that this is something that casts the eye away, and this is not something that is halal or permissible for you to actually use. And by the way, not only the Turks do that, even Arabs use it, but it's very common amongst the Turks. That's why it became very famous. And other cultures use it. As well. And they call it. And the Greek also, they used to use it, and they used to call it the Eye of Medusa. And because we're running out of time, I'm not going to get into that. The other thing that they use is that. Now this is called the Hamsa hand. The Arabs, they call it the Hamsa hand. Well, I say Hamsa wa Khamisa. Put it in your hand, 5. Okay? And it's actually a palm which has the eye in it. And the Jews, they call it the Hand of Miriam. The Hand of Miriam. And they say that if you put that on yourself, or you put it in front of your house, or you put it in your car, then it will actually protect you from the eye, from anything that is evil. Another thing that gets used, which I didn't bring with me, is bullets. Is the concept of the rasasa. It's called rasasa. Some people think it's bullets. No. Rasasa is a word that is common for bullets and for lead. And the concept of it is that you get lead, and then they have to say particular words, and then they put it on top of the person, and then they cover him, and then they cast it, and they go, okay, and they keep on repeating it until it breaks, and they will know whether he's got an eye or he doesn't have an eye. And that's something that is commonly used in the Arab land. And what people do not know, that some people that they use it, they actually say words which are words of shirk with it. But they don't realize. Another thing that gets used, and that's something that you have in your jewelry, I know I'm taking long, but that's something that you all should know, is something similar to this. And that's something that the Romans used to use. The Italians use that. They call it cornetti. And actually, they usually used to be made from coral. And sometimes they'll mix it with gold and silver. And they'll say, whoever puts it on him, that would reject the evil eye from him. And of course, that's something that is haram. They call it a little horn. And you can see how it looks like a horn. Another thing that gets used famously is that. Horseshoe. Horseshoe. Now, what's the story of the horseshoe? Very quickly, there's two narrations. One narration goes back to the 10th century from Saint Dunstan, from the Christians. He used to work as a blacksmith. A man came to him and said to him, I want you to put horseshoes on my legs. So he doubted that he's Satan. And then he looked and he saw that he has hooves. So he said, that must be Satan. So what he did, he nailed him to the wall. And he said, I won't let you go until you tell me something that will protect my followers, any Christians, from your evil. He said, listen, I'll give you a vow. Anyone that puts this in front of the house, or they wear it, then I will not come next to them and I will not harm them. That's one narration, 10th century. And since then, the Christians used to use it a lot. They began to use it a lot in the mid-century. The other narration goes back to the 4th century, speaking that the Greeks used to believe that the iron has an energy level that can fight the Jinn and the bad spirits. And then the Romans took after that, and that's why they used to use that. And they thought that the horses, for some reason, Jinn get scared of horses. That's not true. Jinn can possess horses. Okay, and they do possess horses actually, and they like possessing horses. So that's not. I'm serious. They do, and that's something also that is commonly used in the Asian cultures as well, also to protect them from the eye. I'm not leaving anything. Even Hindus and Indians, Hindu Indians, I'm very sure there's some Muslims that do that. They use something called holy fire, where they put on a plate and they turn it around and they get chilies. Okay? And they'll put the chilies in it. Now, if the chilies burn, then you don't have an evil eye. But if they don't burn, then there is an evil eye on you. And then they'll put it around you, and they circulate it around you, and then as long as they do that, then you'll be should get broken. Also, they use lemon and lime. And they'll put lemon and lime and they mix it with the chili. I don't have time to get into the details. And they use that usually for vehicles. So the chilies and the fire are used for humans. The other one is used for objects. Other thing Mexicans that they do, they allow you to touch the person. So they think if you touch the person, then he will not be caused by an evil eye. Some people, they use an egg. Well, actually, they say if you wipe the egg over someone that's got an evil eye, then this will cure him. And in Ethiopia, what they do, if they look at someone and they think that he's going to cause them with the eye, they'll spit on the ground. Okay, so it looks at you, he thinks that you're going to go. And apparently, this would protect him from the evil eye that can come on him. SubhanAllah, people use different things. Now, I know Egyptians and some Arabs, they do that. Like, they lift the shirt and they spit inside the I don't know what is that for. I'm not sure if it relates to the evil eye or not. But apparently, if someone frightens you, you'll not be possessed if you do that. All this, and I know it's funny, is haram for you to use. In fact, the Rasul ﷺ says in the hadith, "Man allaqa tamimatan faqad ashrak." The hadith is found in the book of Imam Ahmad. Whoever hangs on him a tamulet or talisman, something similar to this. That's what these words mean. Anything similar to that, then you have committed shirk. You have committed shirk. Another hadith the Rasul ﷺ says, "Man allaqa shay'an faqad wukkila ilayh." Whatever wears something and he thinks that's going to benefit him, then Allah is going to lead him to what he's wearing. So you got the Eye of Medusa or the Hamsa, Khmesa, and you got all these eyes, nazar, whatever it is, Allah will leave you to it. Meaning the protection of Allah will be lifted from you and you will fall into shirk. And therefore it's very, very dangerous for you to be involved in anything in that. And what is sad is that out there are actually shops, even online, that sell it. Look, there's a complete websites that sell this stuff. And do you know what's ridiculous? They sell it for ridiculous prices, 136, 86, 238, some of them. And people buy it and they think that this can help them besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll tell you one thing and I'll end with that. Sometimes this stuff can work. Sometimes this stuff can work. But for you to use it, it's haram. And the Rasul tells you, and Allah tells you that it's shirk. And the reason why it works, because the shaitan will hunt you through it. Yes, he'll hunt you through it. And that will be a test for you. Are you going to sell your faith to shaitan? Or are you going to seek your treatment through the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If you are someone that you're going to sell yourself to the shaitan, then if it benefits you now, then now on the day of judgment, you're not going to suffer from sickness or being paralyzed or dying. You're going to be in hell eternally. So think about that. But if you are someone that seeks treatment through the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then nothing can come your way except complete cure or a hasana for every single moment of suffering that you feel. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk more about this. The hadith that speak about that. Whoever's possessed, whoever's got an evil eye, whoever's got magic, and he endures for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he puts up with the pain and the suffering that he goes, I promise him by Allah that every single moment, as long as he's patient with the treatment of the Qur'an, he is getting rewarded for that. And he's getting great rewards for that. And inshallah, I'll mention the proof for that next week. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
To listen to or download more Islamic lectures, please visit www.islamicmedia.com.au.